just one more series left today, and my goodness, it's another good one. These two teams have looked great throughout the day. They have looked great throughout the season. Method Black, in this one, based off of point standings, you're probably favoring them to win. But I want to hear what all of you guys think. It's not very often that I really do ask for predictions, but a matchup like this, I think everybody at home really does want to know what you guys think. We want to know what you guys think as well. You can let us know by voting. But what do you think, Zico? Who do you think comes out on top? Who do you favor?
Method Black. Windwalker Mage, Method Black.
Do you agree, Supatis?
I agree.
Method Black.
After watching Method Black take out the Windwalker Death Knight of Wildcard Gaming throughout the 6 cups of spring, I think it's a solid answer. And the boys might go with the Destro Windwalker. What do you think if that happens?
Then the boys, it's going to be a back and forth series where Method Black still wins.
Okay. I'm betting with him. His brain's bigger.
Are you as confident?
Am I? Oh.
No. I mean, no. That's why I thought you were making a joke about hair, but then I didn't want to make that joke about hair. I was thinking of Vemruki. What do you think happens in this one?
I'm actually going to be giving it to the boys. I believe in the boys. I think if it does come down to that Windwalker Frostmage Restoration Druid versus Windwalker Death Knight, I believe Chun-Li can survive. I believe he's made me a believer over the years. I think he's going to be able to hold it down.
He can definitely be a Live Lord when he needs to be. Now, Zico, you really do think that Method Black can take this one down? Let's talk about all of the reasons why. For anybody who hasn't gotten to watch this team compete this year, well, there's a chance that they also did get to see them compete in years previous, because this is the only team in EU that stayed together. But why have they been so strong yet again?
Well, what kind of carried them throughout majority of the cups was that Demon Hunter DK composition, but I want to say what the boys are running really is, they have really good compositions into what Method Black runs. Still, I think Method Black knew that. They put in a lot of practice, and their Windwalker Mage has been so good. In that final cup against Wildcard Gaming, it really started to look like Method Black were, again, pulling back, ahead in that race. Wildcard Gaming and Method Black always going back and forth, finding answers for each other, and I think the boys, they're going to be running the same thing essentially as Method Black, as Wildcard Gaming, sorry.
So Zico, he put his hat in with Method Black. Supatis took my strat, which is copy what Zico says. Then Rookie, you went with the boys, and we're looking at all the same facts here. Why do you end up on the side of the boys? Is it mostly going to be because of what you saw from Chun-Li? As you mentioned, he's an absolute Live Lord, or is there something else that makes you think that they can come out on top here?
I don't want to be too big of a fanboy for Chun-Li, but I just believe he's going to be the X factor for their team to take down Method Black. I think when you look at these two teams on paper, compositionally, Method Black could potentially have the edge, especially with that Windwalker Frostmage Restoration Druid, but I don't know. I think the boys are going to be well prepared for what Method Black has available. It could come down to the blind pick, but I don't know. Something in my heart.
I'm thinking about we talked about earlier your 2 versus 2 with Chun-Li as trainee. I feel like we need like a feature-length film of like Vin-Ruki, the Master Monk, and then Chun-Li, the Grasshopper, and then learning how to survive and never die, and then coming to
I don't know if it's that.
No,
I wouldn't.
I'm just imaging that in my mind. It's like it'd be a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, and then like the old veteran goes to the casting desk, and then the young one competes, and then the old veteran commentates over that is actually.
It's almost like it's happening.
Yeah.
God.
Well, Chun-Li's not the only one who's been playing double DPS 2s. Waz Walker, he's been pulling his own weight as well, with some nice 2s.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. These teams are, I would say, on paper, I mean, you have to give the edge to Method Black. I mean, they're the #1 seed from Europe right now. These guys have been a powerhouse roster for an extremely long time. The boys, a little bit of a newer roster. I mean, they do have veteran players, very experienced members, but just as a roster, as a whole unit, Method Black seems to be a little bit more well composed. But I feel like the boys, they're very prepared for this tournament. They've been practicing a lot, and I just think they have a unique play style that maybe Method Black won't be ready for.
I think a big deciding factor in this matchup is going to be whether or not Method Black runs Mage Warlock. If they run Mage Warlock, the boys are going to farm them. I mean,
you don't believe, huh?
I have zero faith in Method Black's Warlock Mage. I mean, sure, they beat Never Lucky, but even that was like, it was a pretty struggly win, I want to say. And you know, the boys, they're a completely different beast when it comes to that Windwalker DK. So I really hope that Method Black, because they have so many compositions, I hope they pick the right one, which is Windwalker Mage.
Yeah, well, you guys were casting that last game. I was sitting backstage, actually watching it with these two teams, and right before they sort of broke off and went their separate ways, Raikou looked over at Gurecki and was like, yeah, I hope you don't die in the opener, trying to get a little bit of mind games on him.
Oh, wow.
Put him on tilt, but it didn't seem to really faze Gurecki, and I don't know. I just feel like he's going to be ready.
Yeah, Raikou, I mean,
he loves doing it.
Yeah, we've all known Raikou for a while at this point, and I actually feel like this may be the most confident, whether it's for a good reason or a bad
reason. Raikou is always very confident.
This might be the most confident I've ever seen him. The amount of shots he fired, I probably seen him at this LAN too, like in person for a total of 10 minutes, and I've seen him fire shots at 8,000 people. Like, this guy's on another planet right now. Zika, do you think that there's a reason that his confidence is so through the roof?
I mean, I've known Raikou since, he was a little kid, and he's always been like that. So I don't think there's a specific reason. I think that's just the way he is. He's always been a very confident player.
Just blind confidence. Well, I mean,
he's getting the results,
yeah,
right?
No, he has great results to back it up, but he's always been that player, I'm trying to think, when was it? I think it was last year where someone said that Maro was a better mage. He's like, what? At least twice as good, you know?
At least twice as good.
Yeah.
I remember interviewing him, Raikou, saying he could do more damage than any other mage. No one can pump as hard as he can.
Who said Maro was a better mage?
He still says that. I don't remember. It was a while ago.
I'm hearing from production that Maro said that he was a better mage, and Raikou laughed at him. So we'll have to confirm that with Maro Raikou. I'm hearing that from production right now. But I will be honest. Sounds like Raikou. Sounds like Maro.
Sounds like every mage player.
Yeah.
Mage ego. The only mages that get along are Finruki and Zico.
Yeah, that's because we still...
Or do you secretly trash talk each other behind each other's backs?
We're just humble bakers.
Who's the better fire mage?
No, Zico, of course.
It's Finruki.
Wow.
Who would have expected that answer if they live with each other for like 6 weeks, time and time again?
No, I think we should bring it back to Raikou and his quotes. Another one is, he said, Maro is the only mage who is 20% as good as I am.
Wow.
That's a direct quote from last year.
Wow. I'll never forget. I think it's still one of the most popular clips in the Warcraft channel. Raikou in Ukraine in 2017.
Oh, is it what I think?
When they were still on Northern Blue. Is that what the team was called? They won that tournament. And all I'm going to say right now is sometimes you got to dig deep for the win at all costs. I'm not sure if you guys remember that greatest hit.
Raikou's previous career as a miner.
That was probably my favorite moment in all of AWC history, and to be a part of that was truly fantastic. I think he went a little bit more ham in the mining department than even some of our favorite warriors. So this guy definitely went to town there. The question is he going to go to town on this main stage against the boys? Zico, you've talked about all the reasons you think Method Black can come out on top. How do you think the boys navigate? If the boys are going to win, how do they find that win condition?
I think Gurecki's got to lead the charge, and like Van said as well, Chun-Li's got to be the X factor. He's going to have to do a great job surviving, applying out the pressure, like we know he can do. So we're going to have to look at Chun-Li.
Whoa! That doesn't happen ever.
That's a complete split. A complete split. Wow.
If that is 100% updated, that is one of the craziest things ever. Complete 50-50.
I really thought Twitch chat would be going in favor of Method Black. Just all things considered, it's actually pretty remarkable how many, I mean, myself included, how much faith we have in the boys. I mean, these guys are all-star players, so I guess I can kind of expect that result.
Yeah, I actually am looking at chat right now, and people are just like casting late votes right now. It's like, you snooze, you lose. You got to get them in. Maybe we'll actually get to see what the results are again after some of these late ballots are coming in here. But it still does look relatively split. And I think that 50-50 is pretty warranted in the last two matchups. But what we've seen so far, a lot of the top-seeded teams have come out on top. Now we're going to get that first glance at the compositions. Let's see who takes in the Grand Arena.
It's on my screen right now.
The Mind Games is on your screen right now.
Yeah, mind games are definitely real. Method Black, they're going to be going with the Elemental Shaman, Windwalker Monk, Restoration Druid. the boys bringing in, is that an Arms Warrior? No, Fury,
No, that's
Fury Warrior.
Yeah, Fury Warrior. Fury Warrior, Windwalker, Restoration Druid.
I don't think we're going to see an Arms Warrior. I think Blizzo's stats came, was it Blizzo or Smexen? I can't remember. It was either Blizzo or Smexen. It came up with their stats and it said Arms Warrior 0%.
Yeah,
We're at 0% seeing Arms Warrior.
Production thought he was Arms for a second, and they got back to me, and they were like, every time we've seen Arms Warrior, it's been bad.
No more Arms Warriors. It's a leg day only.
So I can't help but feel like Method Black definitely won this mind game. I feel like Swapsy's going to be a really durable target. They can go after Waz, keep a lot of pressure on him, potentially take him down. I know as a Windwalker Monk, the Fury Warrior, significant amount of damage to you. It's going to be up to Waz to make sure he's doing a really good job with that Turbo Fist to avoid damage. It looks like early on, the boy's going to be getting a double leg sweep, looking for some pressure. Gorecki moving in, lands a full Cyclone, and now Waz could be in some trouble.
Waz getting chopped up early on by both Smexen and Chun-Li. Touch of Karma immediately forced. Now Method Black, they counterattack. Two members of the boys are low on health. Smexen in trouble. Is he just going to go down? This is so early on to be going down. Heroic Leap able to stay alive, but cooldowns overlapped and Method Black have an opening.
Yep, Swapsy now under fire, a little bit of pressure. You can see Chun-Li and Smexen getting a lot of damage rolling. Gorecki able to recover from that opener, which was a little bit scary. Chun-Li did manage to hold on to the Touch of Karma, whereas Waz, he does not have that same luxury. If he gets caught into a stun, some burst, they might be able to take him down.
All right, let's see if they can do it here. Can the boys set up? Surprising composition selection here from both sides. If Method Black were anticipating a Destruction Warlock maybe with this, I don't think they were anticipating the Fury Warrior, maybe a Windwalker Death Knight. It's similar play style though. We see Gorecki crowd controlled for an extended period of time and Chun-Li's in trouble. He is the monk that never dies though and is able to just get through that quite easily. Double leg sweep. Once again, Smexen leaping over, Waz retreats away. Chaz sitting through a bash. Swapsy gets swapped to. No defense. Chaz sits through Cyclone. Swapsy, what are you going to do? He's on the run. He is playing that Dark Iron Dwarf, able to use the Fire Blood to remove that Gladiator's Maledict. Potentially a second incoming. Chaz has a lot of work ahead of him with no Iron Bark, but Chun-Li is getting blasted. He's on the run. Waz in hot pursuit. Touch of Karma just in time for Chun-Li, but Touch of Death available for Waz. That could be deadly for Chun-Li.
Yeah, definitely. Chun-Li could be in some trouble. Nice Cyclone coming in from Chaz. That denies any of Gorecki's healing as well as that powered healing from Iron Bark. Fist of Fury, Turbo Fist, going to be what keeps Chun-Li alive for now, but there's the Touch of Death. They're looking to go all in. How is Chun-Li going to survive evasive maneuvers? Trying to get behind the pillar. Ring of Peace denies Waz any follow-up damage. Chun-Li weathers the storm. The boys stabilize. What a scary moment.
All right, what are you going to do, Chun-Li? You're the monk that never dies, or at least we've talked you up to be that. Can you pull it off here with such limited defense? Mana burning down. Waz gets set up on his Chaz crowd control. Pre-Iron Bark. Is that going to be enough? We're chopping through it. Turbo Fist from Waz. That Honor talent makes Fist of Fury parry incoming attacks. Super effective against both a Fury Warrior and a Windwalker. So Waz activating that to avoid damage. Not so much so to deal damage in that position. And that's what we see from the top level Windwalkers with their Fist of Fury, having to bounce between both offensive and defensive usage. Waz trying to connect, but Chun-Li is just avoiding Waz. And can Waz step up to the same peak of Windwalker as Chun-Li?
He's going to have to get onto the peak of Serenity. We'll have to see. Smexen now into a clone. Interrupt onto Gorecki. If we look at mana, the boys have a massive advantage. Chun-Li committing that Touch of Death. Looking for a little bit of damage here onto Swapsy. Chaz looking for a potential drink in this situation. Gorecki looking to shut that down. If he can move in, land a stun into a Cyclone, Swapsy and Waz could be in a little bit of trouble. Chaz now sitting down for a drink. Gorecki has to stop it. If he can stabilize his mana, things are going to be looking good for Method Black.
Oh, Gorecki actually still has a significant lead. Chun-Li pre-diffuse magics the incoming damage. Still, his Gladiator Safeguard Shield is going to proc. Both teams in trouble. It's definitely a fast-paced match between these compositions. It was not a matchup that I was expecting at all to see throughout the tournament, so this is a nice treat. Even though we've had such a long day, there's still surprises in this final best-of-5 in the upper bracket between Method Black and the boys.
Yep, Waz caught into a full leg sweep. Huge burst damage. It's getting lower. Touch of Karma traded out by both Windwalker monks. Could be a race to the finish. Iron Bark used by both Druids as well. These two teams going toe-to-toe very early on. See Chaz moving in, lands a bash onto Gorecki. Chun-Li could be in some trouble as he uses that Transcendence to get behind the pillar. Vivify spam coming in. Lightning Lasso gets interrupted. Nice rake stun there by Gorecki to deny a lot of that damage Swapsy really had. And you can see Chaz under fire. Good swap here from Smexen and Chun-Li.
I know Adrian's excited to see this Windwalker Fury Warrior as he's been playing it with Joe Fernandez quite a lot in his free time. It's a especially powerful composition, and the boys are the only team to really break it out in the tournament stage. Chun-Li, he gets caught 5 seconds away. Gorecki's interrupted. Will he be able to hold out? Touch of death is about to tick. Chun-Li, can you do it? Are you the monk that never dies? Looks like it's going to be the case as he's bounced back to full health. Now he can counter-aggress potentially. Waz is in a bit of trouble. Chaz starts to stabilize. The boys still have a lead. We're not even into dampening.
Yeah, not into dampening. Chun-Li caught into a cyclone. He's going to be getting out of that once again, looking for some pressure onto Chaz. He's caught into a full leg sweep. Barskin does trade out, and I think he will be able to survive off of the back of that. We have just entered dampening. Good off heals there by Swapsy. There needs to be a control on Swapsy when they make these swaps onto Chaz. Otherwise, it's just much too easy for him to throw off some off heals and keep his Druid alive.
All right, let's see if they can pull it off. Chaz totally tapped on mana. He needs to find a drink now, and I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. Smexon gets swapped to. Big lightning lasso. They're not even going to trade cooldowns for that. A bit of disrespect from the boys here in game number 1 towards Method Black. There are really no openings now for them unless Chaz can find a drink, and he is sneaking across the map. Will he be able to find a drink? He's running laps at this point in cat form, watching him like a little NASCAR trying to find any little place to find a drink, but Waz is in trouble. Touch of Karma barely stabilizes. Chaz got maybe 1 tick of mana for Touch of Karma. That's not a good trade, although it is starting to even out. It's anyone's match.
Yeah, double fear onto Swapsy into a hibernate. He trinkets out, uses a tremor totem. There's a paralysis onto Chaz. Waz could be in some trouble. Chun-Li turning his attention over onto Swapsy. The boys have pressure on multiple fronts. Anyone could fall at this moment, but a nice triple crowd control stun on Chun-Li, paralysis on Gorecki, lightning lasso on Smexon. Nicely done by Method Black to reverse the pressure. Chun-Li forced to trade out that Touch of Karma, but a double leg sweep is going to allow the boys to get some huge pressure onto Waz.
Really well done here from the boys, but Smexon is low on health as well. Still a slight lead for the boys. Pre-Iron Bark on the bash, well done by Chaz here as it's a battle between North America and Europe all day. Will North America be able to make it an all North American affair in the upper bracket? If the boys can take this series, it will be the case. Swapsy and Waz are in so much trouble. Chaz has nothing. 20 seconds away and still crowd controlled. Swapsy on the run. He's running for his life. Gorecki jumps into the fight to take him out, but that's not even enough. Swapsy stays alive, but now Waz gets swapped too. He's in trouble. How is he going to get out of this situation? Able to flying serpent kick, potentially to safety. Swapsy is trying to sneak in a Hex. Chaz gets swapped to by Smexon, creating pressure on multiple fronts. Will they be able to push him over? No, he's forced back, not able to stay on target, but both Druids, they're totally tapped on mana. Chaz sits down for a drink. Where's the denial?
This is really scary. Nice Ring of Peace there by Chun-Li. Smexon leaps over as well, looking to get some damage rolling onto Chaz. Innervate's rolling. If they can deny that Innervate, it's going to be huge, but looks like he will get full value. Now a nice little swap over onto Chaz. Barskin is used, but he doesn't have a trinket. Very scary moment. Swapsy trying to keep him alive. Can he keep him alive through this bash? Does manage to do so. Gorecki with a nice Cyclone, though, will deny any of the incoming healing from Chaz, freezing his HP a little bit low.
All right, can they do it here? The Black have managed to hold on, battling it out to the bitter end. Gorecki, how much mana are you going to get? Where is it? Waz portal's over. I'm waiting to see Gorecki. If he got a lead here, nope, still tie, but Innervate available at least. He can bounce his team back to spend a lot of expensive heals. Chaz is in trouble. The boys have been going after him, trying to pressure down there, realizing that the Ghost Wolf build that Swapsy is running with the Pack Spirit might be too slippery to take down, so going after Waz and Chaz instead. Chaz is in stealth, once again sneaking to find a drink, but the longer he spends in stealth, the lower his team's health. How will they be able to take victory and find all that wealth?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. There's a paralysis onto Chaz. Touch of Death gets used by Chun-Li. Huge damage on Waz as the boys looking to put the first point on the board, taking down Waz and Method Black in an unexpected victory with this composition, the Windwalker Fury Warrior. I really didn't expect them to win that.
You can see it on the player cam too. Chun looked at him right in the eyes to let them know what just went down. What do you think about this one, Zico?
Well, it's not really what anyone expected, but it was a really well-played game. Again, the boys were on point, shutting down every single drink. Gorecki and Chun-Li as well, of course, constantly harassing Chaz, not allowing him to ever recover, and they just had more upfront damage. They forced the issue on the side of Method Black, running Chaz completely dry on his mana bar, and they weren't really able to ever recover from that. Pretty much what happened the last couple of seconds here with Chaz faking that he's drinking, stealthing, running away, Waz being forced to use his touch of karma to, allow Chaz to actually get away. Chun-Li powering through that cooldown with his touch of death, forces Chaz's hand, and then of course some nice crowd controls as well. He's gonna force Waz to just go down here. Nice fear as well, just to allow Smexin to get that final killing blow as well. Gurecki, of course, always chasing Chaz, getting that bash as well. Just great play from the boys.
Well, if you actually watch that one closely, you can see exactly what he said there. I think that. Oh man, yeah, I'm sure that one.
It's okay. You don't need to.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I think it's awesome to see the boys coming out nice and quick here and finding that win. I actually said a little, I guess it was a couple hours ago, I was like, I don't really expect to see another warrior in the tournament. And Super T, sure enough, we do see one.
Another arms warrior.
Yeah.
I think there's still potential for Fury, maybe even protection at a certain point in the tournament. I know Valet, he was talking about some surprises. He does quite a few Mythic Pluses. He's been playing Brawl Warrior, and he thought it might be a good answer in a cleave. So we will see some warriors, just I don't think of the arms variety.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I know one thing I want to check in on right now, though, is I want to hear what the players are saying.
Hey guys, before this matchup, I was able to speak with Waz, and even though they did get that game 1 loss, he did say that one thing their team is really good at is staying calm even when they're losing. They really want to focus on the next game at hand and make sure that they don't tilt and set them up for victory for the next one. Also on the side of the boys, I spoke with Chun-Li earlier, and he said that they don't think that there's anything that Method Black can throw at them that they're not expecting. He said that they've been preparing for every comp. They've been practicing with other teams with comps that Method Black are known to play. So we'll see how this last match of the day plays out. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
Well, I think that we also saw Chun-Li's confidence mirrored while he was playing, right? You can hear that. I actually heard him say, I don't really think that there's anything that they can throw at us to beat us. A little bit surprising maybe to some of us on the desk. I know that you were confident in what the boys would be able to do, but Zico, that's not what you were saying before we got into game number 1. Do you stand by that?
Yeah, I think that Method Black could still bring this back. I mean, they have so many compositions that they can still run, whereas the boys, they are, I don't want to say one-dimensional because they have a lot of different compositions that they play, but it's still kind of fitting into the same style where they are a very melee, cleave, heavy-focused team, whereas Method Black, they can play double caster, they can play double melee, they can play melee caster healer. So I think that they still have more room to work with. However, losing that blind pick is really, really big for the boys.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things was you said Chun-Li could be the X factor. Are we starting to see that come to fruition as well?
I think so. I mean, you'd expect normally the Windwalker to fall in that matchup, but I just feel like I sound like a big fanboy right now, but when Chun-Li goes toe-to-toe with other Windwalker monks, he usually wins that exchange. Always able to preemptively get out of the way from Fists of Fury stuns, always try to land the double leg sweeps. Like, he just seems to be playing one step ahead of the other Windwalker monks in the tournament.
Yeah, a lot of people were calling me a fanboy earlier today as well. It happens, but you know what? When you watch a player who's just playing out of their mind, that's exactly what you want to be doing, right? It takes a lot to get somebody, too, who's been watching WoW all day long to start fanboy.
Well, I mean, when I play against the guy on ladder, I'm like, yeah, he outplayed me. Like, we lost that because Chun-Li just outplayed me. It just happens consistently over and over and over, just always one step ahead, and I see that in lots of the matchups that he plays, and that's why I have a lot of faith in him.
Yeah, and now, Super T's, when we do look at what the boys are bringing yet again, how do you feel about locking this in blind again against Method Black now that they have the option to countercomp?
I think it's a composition people don't have a lot of experience against. They may not know what is the best strategy. Fury Warriors, they're a lot more mobile with an honor talent allowing Bloodthirst to remove snare effects. So typically we see mages as the nemesis to the warrior, but as a Fury specialization, you can bring in a little bit of an edge to move. Windwalkers are also highly mobile, so a spellcaster cleave might not actually work. And if Method Black don't have a strategy figured out for this composition, it just could be an X factor for the boys and could allow them to take the entire series. Obviously with Tolvaron locked in, we do anticipate double caster, but which ones?
Yeah, and one thing I really like about the boys is it really feels like Smexin has finally found a home where he can be showcased on that warrior. I mean, not necessarily arms right now, but he's been playing Fury for a really long time as well, and it's just great to see him finally have a roster where he is showcased. He can do a phenomenal job because he's always been one of the most consistent high-level players, and I don't know if you actually know this, Zico, but I feel like they do have more than just the melee cleaves available. I know Smexen, he plays both the Elemental Shaman and the Shadow Priest at a very high level. Maybe not as high as, Valet and Zipai, but they do have those options. And then Thugonomics as their 4th member gives them Destruction, Shadow Priest. It gives them Elemental Destruction as well, which are very powerful counter picks.
I think we can see, too, that Smexen liked what Method Black locked in. I don't think they're necessarily scared of playing against this.
Yeah,
I will say this. The boys started practicing this composition to beat Cloud9, beat Super Frogs as Mage Lock Druid, and they were very confident in that matchup from what I heard. And I can't help but feel like Method Black is a tier below Cloud9 on that Mage Lock Druid, so the boys got to be feeling very good about this.
I actually think Zico said his one condition where he didn't believe in Method Black at all was if they played this composition.
Yep. This is looking like a 2-0 for the boys.
Yeah, and I think that you also need to look at big stakes here as well, Supatees. Everybody at home, think about what is happening. If we see the boys win this one, we know that North America is going to the grand finals, straight up. You put North America in a very good spot to be taking the entire land. That has big implications for these teams, obviously. It has big implications for the boys, and it has big implications for, of course, Cloud9, because you're assuming that if somebody out of one of them does win the LAN, you assume both of them are probably going to the LAN. But then you also think of a team that's not here in Method Orange. All of a sudden, it goes from potentially retiring to potentially making it to BlizzCon. If you see an NA team go through early, you know at least 2 teams from North America are making it through, and not many things are guaranteed for the finals this year. So, Sid, already, before we even get to Sunday, we start to see just how important this tournament is for the rest of the year.
Competition is at its highest. We even had Snuts, who's been competing since I think he wasn't even technically an adult for that long, saying that this is the hardest tournament that he has ever played in. The competition is at its highest, and the spots to BlizzCon are now at their lowest, at least comparably to last year. So with the competition being higher and there are just less space to fill, you really want to win these lands if you want to guarantee a spot at that BlizzCon final, at the World Finals. That is the safest way to secure a spot, and that spot is on the line in this tournament this weekend. We are on our final best of 5 between Method Black and the boys. The surprising composition, the Windwalker Fury Warrior, appears to have Method Black's number. Method Black taking that Mage Warlock from Cloud9 and trying to say, yoinks, now it's mine. Let's see if they can pull it off, though. It's one thing to lock in the composition. It's an entirely different one to actually execute.
Yeah, and like you kind of mentioned, Sid, Smexen on that Fury Warrior. Traditionally, the Frost Mage is the bane of Warrior, but Fury, it is not as susceptible to snares as the Arms Warrior normally is. Chun-Li taking a lot of pressure early on. Is he going to trade out the Touch of Karma? He already has. There's Diffuse Magic, Fortifying Brew, Touch of Karma, Iron Bark from the boys. Great pressure here from Method Black. Chun-Li might have to start playing a little bit more defensive.
All right, let's see what they can get done. I mean, that's an explosive start for Method Black, and Chun-Li might just actually go down in the fastest game we've ever seen in the tournament today. He's cycloned at 10% health. There's really no defense, and once again, Chun-Li proves this all wrong. He's just a monk that never dies, can't die, can't count him out. Now leading the charge over towards Raikou. Swappy trying to counter pressure. Koreki out midfield. He's getting targeted down currently by Method Black. Mana being burned rapidly on both sides.
Yeah, when you look at these two matchups, or these two teams go head-to-head, when Method Black has their offensive cooldowns ready, when they have the Dark Soul, the Infernals, the Icy Veins, that's when Method Black will have an edge in this matchup. Outside of those cooldowns, with the amount of uptime Smexen and Chun-Li will have onto Raikou, that is really when the boys can start shining, start getting some momentum and pressure. That's when it's not nearly as scary for them to stay in the open for extended periods of time.
All right, let's see what they can get done here, Chaz. He is going to take the time to regenerate some mana in the back line, and on Tolvaron, or on Ashmane's fall, with the composition, it should be a lot easier for him to drink and build a lead that way. Koreki is cycloned. Who's going to be the target? Smexen is, but he brings a lot of self-healing and support on that Fury Warrior as well as mobility, so he is not likely to be an easy kill target whatsoever, and this could be revenge of the Warriors, as Arms Warrior with the 0% win rate getting kited by Frost Mages every single tournament, and all they had to do was respec Fury and start running them down, so potentially an opportunity here for the boys. This composition is looking solid so far.
Easier said than done. Yeah, just respec Fury and run them all down. I think for the boys, I mean, their strategy could be good, but we'll have to see if it actually works out for them. Like we kind of said, it seemed like the boys were happy with the particular matchup that Method Black gave them in game number 2. we'll have to see if they actually end up getting a win. Touch of Death is committed. Raikou caught into a rake stun. He trinkets out, trying to cut away. He's actually not playing the Temporal Shield, so doesn't have that key mage defensive cooldown. I think he's opted for the Kleptomania instead, so that is basically a talent that empowers your spell steal, and he can remove all the heal over time effects Gorecki really has available. So they get crowd control on Gorecki. He uses the spell steal with Kleptomania. All of a sudden, Chun-Li and Smexon become great targets for them to start really putting pressure on.
Double Shadow Fury for Swapsy, trying to take some pages out of Chanimal's book there. Not able to find any burst though. Raikou has not had any opportunities to breathe. Chun-Li right on top, and Smexon charging over. Chaz is stunned up. No crowd control to follow it up, but may not even be necessary. Iron Bark, is that going to be enough? Looks like it's going to be enough. Raikou bounces back to full health. Chun-Li on the run again, and I'm wondering if Chun-Li can go this entire tournament. I'm not going to say it anymore because he might just die right now. He's bursted, and Chun-Li is now no longer the monk that can never die. Method Black take game 2.
What were you going to say before you died?
I was about to say, is Chun-Li going to go the entire tournament without dying and then die?
Still a live lord for sure, but we will see Method Black manage to level the scales here, and we expect, Ben, this series to go the distance.
Yeah, I think so, and I want to hear from Zico, but I feel like a lot of the reason why that looks so good for Method Black is just the experience of Raikou. I feel like on that Frost Mage, if they're going to go after a target, I feel like Raikou is the one that is the most experienced in dealing with that.
Exactly what I was going to say as well. I mean, I wanted to see them go after Swapsy, maybe do some hit and runs, potentially swap to Raikou just to swap the blooms if he's aggressively positioned, but overall, I don't like the target choice of the boys. And I mean, Raikou, there was a couple of close calls there at the end, but as soon as he recovers from that, you're going to have a free casting Destruction Warlock. You're going to have so much to work with. And of course, Gorecki here at the end as well, getting polymorphed up. Big mistake on his end. Reacts completely too late. And it's a little bit of a throwaway there.
You think it's a little bit of a throwaway? Sid, what do you think about this last game?
I mean, it's definitely a blunder. I do think that composition can go the distance, at least longer than that. Usually the Mage Warlock teams are requiring a little bit of dampening to be able to kill their targets, so maybe better positioning, a little bit cooler, slower play on the side of the boys, but the map is obviously disadvantaged to them. If we go to small maps, I think that we're going to see the boys take this matchup, and because they won the first round, the blind pick, they'll have that edge moving forward to what could be a Game 5 between these two teams.
Yeah, it's really important to be asking those questions, though, because we essentially had a matchup where Zico said, this is the only comp I don't want to see out of Method Black. If they play this, they're just straight up going to lose.
Maybe we're not giving them enough credit.
Well, I mean, I think that there are a lot of reasons that Zico did say that, and then ultimately, that's the composition they get the win on. On the other hand, when we thought that maybe they would have the upper hand, though a lot of people in the desk thought that they may have the upper hand. That's when they actually lost. And I think that goes to show as well that these are two top caliber teams that even when they are disadvantaged, Ven, they have the potential to find those openings, to find whether they're wins that you don't expect to be repeated, but they're able to find those opportunities.
Yeah, some of the best players in the world. If any players in the game could find win conditions in sort of unwinnable situations, it would be them. So you can't always predict the results, and I think that these two teams are really showcasing that this year. I mean, you don't normally see Fury Warrior, Windwalker Monk going up against Mage Lock Druid. It's not a matchup we've seen play out too many times, but I do feel like, or I can't help but feel like the boys did throw away that game just a little bit. Just slow reactions from Gorecki when Chun-Li got locked out. They probably thought, you know what? They have a false sense of confidence from how well Chun-Li has been surviving today, but he had the trinket, he had the Iron Bark, he could have committed that just a little bit sooner, and they would have been able to hold on much longer.
All in all, earlier in the day, I asked you guys at home if you thought NA tiers were tasty or EU tiers. Well, we're going to have another serving after this. Folks, we started off this tournament with the 4 best teams from NA and the 4 best from EU. We're only down to the top 6 teams, period, at the tournament. 2 already eliminated. And now we're looking at 2 teams that have not lost yet, and we're going to figure out who starts off in the best possible scenario for their Sunday, where they're playing for a spot in the grand finals, and they still have that little bit of wiggle room where they can have a loss, or the team that starts right off on the chopping block. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host throughout the entire weekend. I'm joined by Zico, Supatees, and Venruki. let's see what we actually think now that we've seen 2 games. All tied up here. Zico, you really didn't like the composition initially before we saw it. With that mage, with that warlock for the side of Method Black, they're not going to be playing it here. Do you think that even though they won, maybe they didn't feel confident with it? Because, I don't know, is it the map? Why do they decide to move off of it?
I mean, it's got to be the map as well, but I'm still not sold on that composition. But the map, of course, it wouldn't make any sense locking it in on this map. Instead, they're going to go back to the Windwalker Alley Shaman, which just tells us that this is a matchup that they want, despite losing on Nagran. I'm not really sure how to feel about that. I feel like the boys have the edge in this matchup.
It could just be that going into a matchup blind, Method Black feels like overall this is the best composition that they have. I mean, I still feel like in theory it could easily win against what the boys are bringing. All 3 members are relatively durable. It ended up coming down to mana, I believe, in the last matchup. So if the boys can extend it, and potentially they could win on mana, but Method Black will have some opportunities in this match to definitely close it out.
It's going to be difficult to predict. However, there's one thing that is certain on Dalaran Sewers. It's incredibly difficult to drink, and as Restoration Druids are the most thirsty healer, they're going to need to drink as frequently as possible, so drink denial is of utmost importance. We see early pressure on Smexen. We thought he would be an unlikely target, but this is looking devastating.
Yeah, can they take him down? Touch of Death is rolling from Waz. Smexen using that rallying cry in order to survive. But now Fury Walkers, or Fury Warriors, this is when he's going to be able to get out a lot of self-healing. Yeah, potentially, but the self-healing of the Fury Warrior is going to be quite high, so they can maybe take him down in these triple Maledict pushes, denying some of that Fury Warrior healing, but outside of that, I feel like Smexen's going to be able to keep himself stable.
I think we have to name this composition, although maybe Healing Stat wants to, because he's kind of playing it a lot before the boys, honestly, on the ladder, but if you've got a name for this, type it in the chat. The composition the boys are playing, we don't see it ever. Windwalker, Fury Warrior, Restoration Druid. Greki under fire down at half health here as he gets swapped to by Waz. If swapped again, what is happening right now? Greki is getting owned by Waz. Greki manages to sneak away, at least to recover very far away from the fight, but now that he's far away, we could see Method Black go after a different target, and that looks to be Smexen, but Smexen secures a triple fear, denies the Tremor Totem as a result of hitting Swapsy as well with it, but not able to find any cooldowns off the back of that crowd control, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a very tense situation for both of these teams. Neither one of them want to go down to that lower bracket and potentially face elimination tomorrow. And you can know Cloud9 is waiting in the upper bracket, waiting to see who their opponent is going to be. Tomorrow, we can see Waz already down to around 50% health. He has a lot of defensive cooldowns at this point that he could rotate through. If we look at mana, Chaz once again behind, and I really feel like that's off the back of the boys just hitting multiple targets. They do a go onto Waz, force Chaz to put heal over time effects on him, then go over onto Swapsy, force Chaz to heal there, and then they make a swap onto Chaz, and just becomes really taxing on the mana of Chaz in order to keep all 3 members up.
Waz low on health, trying to hold out without using that touch of karma, but it's costing Chaz a lot of mana, and now he's cycloned. Turbo Fists parrying some incoming attacks, and he does begin to stabilize. Smexen now falling behind on the back foot. Chaz is the one falling behind on mana, though. And the boys are establishing the same lead that they did in game number 1 against Method Black in this matchup, and it's not looking good for Method Black overall. Fortunately, they will be able to rely on going to a large map with that Wizard Cleave composition should they need to. Smexen getting damaged heavily here. Greki crowd control, Chun-Li locked down as well. Smexen disrespecting the space, but with Iron Bark now should stabilize. Method Black likely to switch their attention to Chun-Li now. Trying to pressure 2 targets, a smart strategy against the Restoration Druid. Chaz realizing he needs to drink and regenerate mana. Has escaped far across the map. Greki and Smexen leaping over to deny. How much did he get? As soon as he comes out of bear form, we will find out. Currently cycloned. Chun-Li getting bursted. Greki coming back, able to heal him. Swapsy kiting away. Mana slowly evened out. Nice paralysis on the Innervate there. Denying some of the free healing that Chaz can get from that. Activating the Tranquility only for 1 second to apply an extra heal over time effect, and then that boosts the healing through the Restoration Druid's Mastery. So Tranquility is not that powerful in 3 versus 3 combat. In a raid it is, but in player versus player, it's a smart decision to do what Chaz did there. Innervate makes it free, get an extra heal over time effect, and Greki gets swapped to and bursted. He gets completely devastated here from Method Black as they try to pull off a miracle. This is a swing match. The boys cannot afford to lose this match. map.
Yeah, nice double leg sweep coming in from Chun-Li. Can they get any pressure rolling? They do manage to get the Astral Shift as well as the Iron Bark. Method Black going to be a little bit vulnerable here, but like you said, Gorecki in that last exchange, that was a nice swap from Method Black. It's a leg sweep into a Lightning Lasso, and they got a lot of the defensive cooldowns Gorecki really has available. Now Rake's done over onto Chaz. Gorecki trying to play aggressive, not able to find the follow-up Cyclone, unfortunately. Swapsy was there to deny. I'll have to see what the boys are going to be looking to do. Full leg sweep on a Gorecki. Waz just getting some crowd control out as it looks like they still want to take down Chun-Li.
This has been North America versus EU the entire day, and we are down to the final best of 5. If the boys can pull this off, it's going to be North America in the upper bracket, and Europe will have to battle it back. Will they be able to manage to get to the grand finals? A BlizzCon spot is on the line. $50,000 first place prize on the line between these two teams, as well as potential qualifications for other teams, as the winner of this, when they qualify, all the points that they have earned throughout season play are no longer applicable, which means if you're a second seeded team in terms of points, you may qualify through points. Everything on the line for each other's regions in this tournament today, and you do not want to go anywhere until it's over.
Yeah, definitely not. Waz having to trade out the Touch of Karma. Could be in a little bit of trouble. There's a full paralysis onto Chaz, and once again, the boys have a massive mana lead in this matchup, but a nice attempt on a Smexen. Like I said, Smexen could be a great target for Method Black to go after. If they can coordinate their Maledict trinkets, they could deny a lot of the self-healing that Smexen has. You get crowd control and Gorecki, you throw a Maledict onto Smexen, then all of a sudden that main strength becomes sort of a weakness for Smexen. He can't heal himself up, but that's only going to be in those short windows when they do have that trinket up.
All right, mana still in favor of the boys as dampening has begun, and that will reduce healing at the top of your screen, that red number. As it gets higher, healing gets lower, and if healing gets lower, probably going to die. Things are getting dangerous here for Method Black as the boys are looking to push forward, advance to match point. Touch of Death available. Chun-Li at any moment is just going to start firing on all cylinders. Waz trying to prepare for it. Fists of Fury denying some bursts. They're trying to force Chun-Li back and retreat, but he is not going anywhere. Touch of Karma. He's going for an all-in with the Touch of Death combo together. Crowd control on the entire team of Method Black. Disrespect that Astral Shift a couple seconds late. Needs to be enough to soak up the Touch of Death. Looks like it's going to be enough, but Chaz has to spend so much mana. 2 members on the team so low. Innervate just in time. That means Chaz's spells are free. He's getting huge heals for free. High value Innervate from Method Black, and that might be enough to keep them in the fight.
Yeah, definitely going to keep them in the fight. Swapsy gets topped off. Waz looking good as well. Now the pressure turning around onto the boys. Chun-Li getting a little bit low. A beautiful offensive Cyclone coming in from Chaz, freezing up any of the healing Gorecki has available. Chaz switches the crowd control onto Gorecki looking for a bash, but Chun-Li there to defend. Chaz not able to find the Cyclone. Now Smexen still looking to get aggressive, but he's in some trouble. Waz putting out great pressure. There's the Maledict. Smexen forced to leap away. Gorecki has a little bit of catch-up to do right now, but Waz now vulnerable as the boys looking to reverse the pressure.
All right, can the boys pull it off and advance to match point? Will Method Black steal it away from them here in game number 3? Hibernate snuck in there. Tremor Totem though from Swapsy is going to break it out, but Tremor Totem now won't be available for intimidating shots. Cyclone from Gorecki, but Chun-Li's in trouble. Gorecki spent so much time crowd controlling and not really enough time healing. Chun-Li's low on health, managed to stay alive. Now charging forward to take out Waz. What's Waz going to do? Chaz is crowd controlled still. Swapsy is low. Mana's almost tapped on both sides. Gorecki now in crowd control. Chun-Li could be in trouble. Witch Windwalker's going to fall. Crackling Jade Lightning knocks Waz off the side. Chun-Li doesn't seem to care. Ring of Peace into a Spear Hand strike on the Lightning Lasso. Chun-Li breaking up huge amounts of damage. Top tier play from both sides.
Yeah, Chun-Li, though, is the one that's in a lot of trouble. Now Touch of Karma has been committed. Looking to run down Swapsy at this point. Chaz has no mana left. If the boys can keep up this pressure, Method Black could easily fall, but Chun-Li is just so vulnerable. Double Fear coming in, Swapsy trinkets out. Chun-Li having to kite away. It's going to be evasive maneuvers once again. Can Gorecki keep him alive as they look to take down Swapsy in these final moments?
This is coming down to the wire. Look at those mana bars. There's basically nothing left for either side. Look at the dampening. 21% and getting higher. No defense for either Windwalker. Who's going to take it? Can Waz step up to the plate? Big Lightning Lasso here. Chun-Li in trouble, rolling away. Waz in hot pursuit, rolls over, walks into a double stun with Chaz. Fists of Fury flying in. Waz ducks for cover, avoids it. Gorecki gets sheared. Chun-Li on the run, jumping to safety. Is it really that safe though? Touch of Death explodes, barely connects to Swiftman. Cycloned on his trinket. Big trouble for Chun-Li, but somehow, some way, stays in it.
Yeah, he throws his Maledict over onto Swapsy. There's still good pressure here from Smexen onto Swapsy. Swapsy could easily fall. Chaz has no mana left either. 25% dampening. Chun-Li has to be a little bit careful. Now Waz getting swapped in! could potentially fall. Chun-Li has to survive. Gurecki does manage to keep him alive. Beautiful kiting there by the boys, by Chun-Li, and it's ultimately Waz that falls. The boys go up 2-1 in this series.
Oh man, what a win that was. And you really see another level of the story when they cut to the cameras, see Chun-Li kind of shaking that one off a little bit. Waz, like, what on earth just happened there? And luckily we got Zico to break it all down.
I mean, look, this is again Chun-Li, the X Factor, incapacitates Chaz on his setup there on that Cyclone. Then of course Waz here, he has a touch of death rolling. He sees blood in the water. There's no touch of karma. Chun-Li deflects with the I mean, look at that.
I told you guys. Are you a believer yet?
I mean, I've always been a believer. I already said at the start of the tournament, Chun-Li's the best Monk, but I think Method Black is a better team.
Look at this.
But, I mean, just look at this kiting. It's phenomenal. He does such a great job stabilizing himself, and he manages to get Waz down when Waz is the one who's been on the offense for the entire replay, essentially.
Oh man, and now moving forward in the series, I feel like Van Rookie might be right with his prediction.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that game, I mean, no offense to Waz, but Chun-Li owned him that game. He was chasing him down the entire game. Chun-Li consistently got him in these situations where he's able to roll away from the Fists of Fury. Waz chases him down. Now Chun-Li's Fists of Fury, and he's able to sort of reverse the pressure. And like I said, I really feel like this player in particular is the X factor in this series. And one of the reasons that they did win game number 1 and game number 3.
And now, Sid, when we look at the next game and start to talk about it, we expect a lot of different tuning knobs can be changed, right? You have map size and you have your composition, obviously, and now we are going to have Method Black in the position where they are advantaged with their picks. But we've seen what the boys are bringing look pretty good against a few different options, against quite a few different... what do you think that we actually see Method Black lock in?
I think it's 12-Varan Arena, I think it's Mage, Warlock, Druid, but that's what they're intending to go with. 12-Varan, the boys kind of walking into it with the Windwalker, Fury Warrior, and now Method Black. I think this is what they want. They want to set up that Destro, Frost Mage, Restoration Druid, although we've been saying the boys kind of threw away Ashamane's Fall. It still looked solid overall. I didn't seem entirely one-sided, and that's exactly what they're going to go with.
Yeah, as much as you say Method Black wants this, and it's palpable, it's what they were setting up for, I feel like the boys want it just as bad. You heard it from Zico, not having full confidence in this composition on the side of Method Black. Obviously, this is what they were able to grab a win on, but the boys they have this practice to play against this composition. They found out other opportunities, and that happens when you play a comp. You learn what else it's good at because you fully learn what you are working with. But they want this. This is what they want.
I mean, this is the best map to do it on as well. 12-Varan Arena, really, really good for double caster setups. So, I mean, Method Black has, compositionally at least, the edge, but I'm just not sold. I think if the boys do a couple of tweaks, we could still see the match play out differently compared to Ashamane's Fall. I mean, on Ashamane's Fall, we were not even close to dampening. I mean, they had a lot of cooldowns. Chun-Li had a touch of karma in like 5 seconds. Gurecki had his trinket, his iron bark. He could have easily stalled that out. So, I mean, we're going to get to see a full sample size, I think, in this match of how the matchup is going to look.
Now, Ben, we've talked about everything that the boys are able to do. How do they get a win on 12-Varan? Obviously, the map is going to be one of the biggest factors here.
Well, I think 12-Varan's going to be a difficult map for them. If there's any map where Raiku's going to be able to kite away, it seems like they want to get on the Frost Mage. They want to sort of utilize the fact that the Fury Warrior will have high uptime. Like I kind of mentioned, I feel like Raikou is going to be one of the stronger targets after years and years and years of playing Frost Mage and being trained down by these melee cleaves. He's very experienced in that particular situation. I think on a big map like this, the backup of Chaz and Swapsy, he can ultimately survive. What I want to see from the boys is maybe play it a little bit more conservative. I haven't seen this matchup play out too many times, and I'm sure they're more experienced than I am, but I feel like they could play it a little bit more conservative, stick to the pillars, do sort of hit and run strategies like Zico sort of alluded to, go in when they have their cooldowns, maybe fall back when they don't. I'm not sure if they do win it later on in the game in dampening, and they could eventually take down Swapsy quite a bit, but even on Ashamane's Fall, I feel like it wasn't going that bad for them. When the Infernals dropped out, when Icy Veins was committed, they were scared for sure. In that moment where Chun-Li did fall, Reki still had his trinket, he still had his iron bark, he just was way too slow with actually getting them off. and that's ultimately why they fell. If those were just a little bit quicker, then they could have extended the game and maybe played into their win condition.
Yeah, and for anybody who's maybe not as familiar with Arena, just checking out the first LAN of the year, Sid, how different is Tolvaron going to feel, though, compared to Ashman's?
They're very similar maps with 3 pillars positioned triangularly, although Tolvaron's pillars are the largest in the pool, which means that the boys can use them to line of sight and try and bait Method Black to come forward, but it's unlikely that they will ever push forward. Instead, what we'll see is what is considered the triangle position. So you'll have one spellcaster, in this case, let's say Raikou. He's going to go to one corner. Then you're going to have Swapsy. He's the other caster. He's going to go to the other corner. Then you have your healer in the far back, creating a triangle. One caster can always cast on the opposing team if you create this positioning without actually stepping next to the melee classes. So I want to see Method Black utilize this triangular positioning against the boys, and if they can do so, set up drinks, drag the fight on it. I think that they can win by attrition.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is you look at the double caster setup on Tolvaron, you just go, wait, this sounds great. Like, this sounds absolutely fantastic. You're able to create that space, you're able to fully utilize the map, and it seems like a win condition should happen over time. But Zico, when you talked about Method Black on this comp, why did you dislike it so much? What was it about them and this comp in particular? A comp that we just saw do great things for the teams that really have piloted it. What is it about Method Black in this composition that you don't like together?
Well, you don't have Chanimal on the Warlock. That's, I guess, the main thing I want to talk about. Chanimal, he has a way of making this work in situations where it really shouldn't. I think Swapsy, I mean, he's, one of the best to ever do it, but he also isn't even close to as experienced as someone like Chanimal, especially on this composition.
This is the last series of the day, and the boys can close it out here. They have an uphill battle. Method Black going to have a map that they can just spread out on and hopefully buy themselves some time, wait for their win condition, but the boys going to try to get the upset.
Let's see if they can do it here. It's match point for the boys. Method Black have set themselves up well strategically on Tolvaron Arena, but their positioning is a bit lackluster. You do not want Raikou and Swapsy standing so close to each other. Raikou realizing that is going to demonic gateway and start to separate as we see that triangle created with Chaz on the left, Swapsy on the right, and Raikou in the back line, and this is the triangle that they want to look to maintain throughout the fight.
Yeah, Raiku's been doing a really good job. You can look for little outplays from the Frost Mage. When he blinks away, he can try to deny some of the mobility that Chun-Li has on that Windwalker Monk. He can use both the Ice Nova, his Frost Nova, and the Water Elemental Freeze to keep them in place. So if Chun-Li uses his Flying Serpent Kick, he gets an Ice Nova on that. It denies the mobility. Meantime, though, Smexon getting swapped to.
That was interesting attack. Raikou, seemingly out of nowhere, likes to just dish out tons of damage, and I think we will credit Raikou as one of the highest damaging Frost Mages. That's kind of what he likes to talk himself up with. He just loves casting Frost Bolts, and we can see the result of that damage here now with Smexon so low on health and a significant mana lead established already for Method Black. Raikou now getting bursted, caught in a leg sweep. Huge damage. It's match point. You cannot afford to go down without ice blocking. Blinking back to midfield. Trying to give me a bit of a heart attack, but Iron Bark looks like it's going to be enough for Raikou.
Yeah, Raikou, one thing you have to credit Method Black, they definitely know how to play into the Gladiator Safeguard with the Iron Bark. If you have Iron Bark when Safeguard procs, it's really unlikely the boys are going to find the damage to push through that, so I think it's good. Method Black sort of realizing that, not throwing away an Ice Block very early on, which makes it more difficult for the boys to push in. If they get an Ice Block, then Chun-Li can be confident in using the Touch of Karma, the Fortifying Brew, a lot of his defensives offensively to try to close out the game. But when Raiku's just being greedy with those, holding on for a really long time, it sort of makes it more difficult for the boys to want to make those all-in pushes.
Spell Reflects have been beautiful from Smexon on these Chaos Bolts, denying a lot of damage, and they're just continuing to lead the charge. Chaz, the crowd controlled. Gorecki in position, trying to take the game for his team, trying to take the series for his team here, as the boys are on match point. You can't count them out. Their pressure has been quite insane, but if we look at the mana, Gorecki, that's not too good.
Yeah, there's been a lot of free casted damage from a Destruction Warlock, and that is not a class you want to leave alone. And like we kind of talked about, for Swapsy, when you're playing one of these alternate specializations, when you're being trained down, that's when you're really tested, and you're going to see the difference between a Warlock like Swapsy and a Warlock like Chanimal. But when you're just left open, free casting, that's when it's a lot easier to play these alternate specializations. And I think going after Raikou, they're kind of playing into the favor of Method Black.
All right, let's see what Method Black can get done here. They've already asserted dominance. The map selected was the best decision, of course, as these teams are top caliber. They've planned out the entire best of 5 to try and carry themselves all of the way, and we are likely to see a Game 5 between these two teams, between North America and Europe. It's been head-to-head the entire day. BlizzCon qualification on the line. $50,000 first place prize on the line. Gurecki getting stunned up. Method Black potentially swapping, not able to find line of sight. However, Gurecki is safely stabilizing behind that pillar. Smexen once again, beautiful spell reflect on the Chaos Bolt. Now they're switching targets to Swapsy. Looks like they've given up the chase onto Raikou, but you leave Raikou open, that's going to be a lot of Frost Bolts. Let's see if it's going to be enough. Swapsy's been taking some pretty big hits right now, dropping the Infernals and trying to force them away, but interrupted on the Chaos Bolt. See if they can continue to deny Chaos Bolt. Chaz jumps in, but gets clotheslined by Gurecki right on his wild charge. Now Gurecki repositioning to avoid being bashed himself. Good awareness there on his part. Repositioning at a new pillar. Chaz is hunting him down. Bring a piece into paralysis. Denies the connect, but Smexen is so low. We see a bit of a panic attack from the boys as they overlap defensive cooldowns. Polymorph now secured. Unfortunately, breaking prematurely to the Infernal. That's unfortunate for Method Black, but regardless, the mana is already so heavily in their favor.
Yeah, what is Gurecki going to do? I feel like with the way Method Black is playing it, this is looking really good. I mean, they haven't got a single ice block from Raikou at this point in the game. They're going to have to start committing stuff like the Touch of Death if they want to get some of those cooldowns rolling. Chaz just all over Gurecki, just playing on top of him, landing the bash, landing the Cyclone consistently, denying him from getting out of combat and getting drinks. There's a Maledict over onto Chun-Li. Doesn't have the diffuse magic, and this is an opportunity for Method Black to start getting aggressive, but it looks like the boys, they're switching their target. They don't want to go after Raikou anymore. They want to start potentially testing Swapsy in this matchup.
All right, let's see what they can get done here. Swapsy, we've probably seen him not have the most amount of Warlock games in the tournament setting, and being pressured by a Fury Warrior and a Windwalker is some of the highest amount of pressure you're really going to feel. So can Swapsy step up to the plate and hit a home run for the team? Get them to a game number 5. But when we get to a game 5, what kind of composition? I mean, the boys are going to select a small map. So if you're Method Black, do you go for a cleave composition of your own and try to go Zug versus Zug with North America? Europe, they like to play with their brains, and NA, they like to play with their fists. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the best decision strategically for Method Black in moving into a game number 5, but it might be their only option.
Yeah, Gurecki was able to sit down for a drink, but at what cost? He needs to be able to keep Smexen alive. Gurecki is struggling to catch up right now. He's caught into a bash, into a full Cyclone. He did manage to find the Iron Bark, but no Enrage Regeneration available for Smexen. He has to try to avoid as much damage as possible. Method Black in a commanding position right now, but as dampening gets higher and higher, that Warlock becomes a juicier and juicier target. It's going to be really difficult for Chaz to actually keep him alive. Unending Resolve trades out on the Touch of Death of Chun-Li, but those cooldowns don't line up. If Chun-Li can wait another 2 minutes for a Touch of Death, Swapsy won't have that same luxury. There won't be another Unending Resolve for another 3 minutes, and that's where the boys can really push in and get aggressive.
All right, let's see what they can do. Gurecki's kept his mana actually up against Chaz. It was such a huge lead early on, but now with dampening at 10% and continuing to ramp up, potentially the boys just take it. Potentially they just clean this up and make it all a North American affair in the upper bracket. Method Black in the lower bracket. Wildcard Gaming in the lower bracket already? The level of competition in this tournament is absolutely insane. We even heard Snuts say it himself. This is the hardest tournament that he has ever played in, and Snuts has been playing for, I mean, a decade, I feel, or longer at this point. So that's some pretty big words from him. And at this point, the teams continue battling out. There is a bit of a moment of opportunity to take out Swapsy. There's no unending resolve. They need to just survive these Infernals, but Chaos Bolt are flying in. Smexen pummels the follow-up. Chun-Li rolls over to support, but Gurecki's in a polymorph. Smexen's all alone. Ray of Frost being channeled. Enrage Regeneration gets soaked up by the Gliders Maledicts. Big Chaos Bolts race to the finish. Is Iron Bark going to be enough for Swapsy to stay alive and counter-aggress? Smexen has managed to stabilize back to full health. Swapsy still lobbing out Chaos Bolts. That's going to connect onto Smexen. He's ducking for cover around the corner as Gurecki looks to get back to his side. Now Chun-Li exposed in midfield. Touch of Karma as a Chaos Bolt. That could be a huge opportunity. That Touch of Karma redirected all that Chaos Bolt damage back onto Swapsy. Chaz then has to power through it with mana, which has evened out surprisingly between these two teams.
I think the boys are going for it. Gurecki moving in, lands the bash onto Swapsy. What is Swapsy going to do? Doesn't have much mobility to escape Chun-Li and Smexen. Raikou trying to back him up with polymorph spam. Chaz still no Ironbark for another 5 seconds. If they can get some damage rolling, you can see Chun-Li, he has the Touch of Death rolling in just 2 seconds. If he uses it, it's going to be empowered by that Fortifying Brew, which does increase Chun-Li's health, which increases the damage of that Touch of Death. If he decides to use it, it's going to be huge. Devastation. Raikou, though, getting swapped to Smexen, turning his attention there. There's the full leg sweep. This is the final go from the boys.
All right, this is it. Can they pull it off? It's looking solid. Ironbark may not be enough. Swaps are getting crushed. Double Mortal Coil. Shadow Fury buys a couple seconds. Smexen gets polymorphed in desperation by Raikou, but now there's pressure on Raikou as well. Chaz doesn't really have the mana to do it, but somehow, some way is holding out. Raikou trying to retreat. They're on the Demonic Gateway. Raikou's going to take that to safety. Swapsy likely to follow him shortly. Maybe not. He's just going to soak the damage, allow Raikou to free cast in the back line. Chaz is trying to sit down for a drink, regenerate mana. How much is he going to get? Not too much. Greki jumped over, but now he's exposed in center field. Maybe they switch. No, they polymorph instead. Chaz gets feared. He trinkets into a paralysis. Big opportunity, but Smexen's bashed up. He's not trinketing out of the full bash. Chaos Bolt flies over. He leaps back onto Swapsy. There's nothing left for 3 more seconds. 5 more seconds. 4 more seconds for Swapsy's Unending Resolve. Can he make it to that point? It's looking good. He's made it. Unending Resolve now available, and Method Black stay in it.
Yeah, the boys just 1 game away from sending Method Black to the lower bracket. There is so much on the line. Tension is high. Swapsy's still low. Gets interrupted. Unending Resolve is available. Will he decide to use it right now? You can see the boys actually have a mana lead in this situation. Things are looking great. The boys have a lot of defensive cooldowns that they can rotate through if they need it. Chaz with no trinket. Now sitting down for a drink. Greki trying to deny that. Finds the Vortex. Nice rake stun on Greki into a full Cyclone. Is there going to be any damage to follow it up from Method Black? I don't know. Swapsy just seems to be under too much pressure.
Swapsy, what are you going to do here? 28% dampening. Your healer's totally out of mana. Unending Resolve may not even be enough. Raikou's desperate. He's polymorphing up the damage dealers, trying to get them under control, but even still struggling. Innervate just came up for Chaz. It's the only thing allowing him to continue to heal. He's at least managed to stabilize Swapsy, but really for how much longer? Dampening continues to get higher and higher. Chun-Li now polymorphed up. There's no pressure. All cooldowns available for the boys, and it's looking like it's going to be a North American upper bracket final.
Potentially, but Method Black did manage to stabilize, and Chaz is actually sitting down for a drink right now. Greki trying desperately to deny it, but Raikou with good backup with the Ray of Frost. Chaz, he recovered the mana at 32% dampening. This is perfect, but Raikou needs to start getting damage out instead of just spamming out the polymorphs. Chun-Li with the Touch of Death rolling. Swapsy could easily fall. Chaz gets the Ironbark out, but Chun-Li's the one that's in trouble. He's forced to portal away. There's a full intimidating shout coming in from Smexen onto Chaz. Beautiful crowd control from the boys, but right now Chun-Li is just way too vulnerable.
All right, let's see what they can do. Live Lord Chun-Li only going down in 1 game, and we'll happily forget that if he can manage to pull off this somehow, some way, strategically. Method Black should have been able to set up a victory, but the boys keep battling it back and just refuse to die. Ironbark available in 9 more seconds. Icy Veins. Raikou is probably the most deadly player for the next couple seconds. Blinks over, looks for the polymorph, doesn't get it, but they get the Cyclone. Smexen in trouble. Enraged Regeneration. He needs to get some big heals off this, but dampening's at 37%. Big heals aren't so big at 37% reduction. He's not even going back to full health. Greki tries to sit down for a drink. How much mana? He's in stealth. How much mana is he going to get? Frozen Orb hits him, he clips it, but he's 50% mana.
Yeah, this is really good for the boys. Swapsy now with the Dark Soul trying to get aggressive onto Chun-Li. Trades out the Touch of Karma. Paralysis onto Chaz. Right now, Chun-Li trying to carry this game. Get the 3rd point on the board for his team and send Method Black to the lower bracket. But Swapsy does manage to stabilize. This is a very tense game.
Oh no, Chaz, how much mana did he get? He's been spending some time, not that much. Chun-Li in trouble, Mortal Coil, Swapsy tries to close. Chun-Li Transcendence, ducks around the corner, but Raikou gets a polymorph. Is it gonna be enough? Greki now gets bashed, he could get swapped to. Cyclone instead. Chun-Li tries to stay alive. Smexen's tanking all the damage in midfield for the team, but how much can he tank? He Speller Flex 1 Chaos Bolt, charge pummels the next. Good denial by Smexen, but he gets stunned up. Chun-Li goes for the kill. It's do or die for the boys. If they don't find a kill soon, they're out of cooldowns.
Yeah, and Swapsy doesn't have much healing left. Tries to land a Chaos Bolt on Smexen. Smexen's in a lot of trouble. Down on 10% health. Raikou finally takes him down with a beautiful flurry combo. And Method Black tie this series up.
Look at Waz just sitting there right now watching that one. That's not the seat you want to have to be in. It's just as stressful when it's not in your hands, right? And there's nothing that you can actually do for it. And he's just sitting there watching it play out right now, and he's going to wait a little bit to celebrate. But Method Black looking good there. And I want to go back to this MLD. It's actually ending up being one of the most important compositions in this entire tournament, Zico, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, like Cloud9, they found a really, really good meta composition, and people didn't really know what to do against it, and it seems like people still don't know how to deal with it. However, this game was way too close. I mean, this is the largest map in the pool, and it really just came down to the wire here. Gorecki still had, pretty much tied up his mana bar with Chaz. The game went to 43% dampening, and Swapsy manages to sneak out those 2 bolts. Smexy barely stabilizing there towards the end of that one. If he doesn't go down to that flurry combo, I'm not sure if Method Black even wins this game. This was such a close game, and now again they're going to be on a small map, and they're going to have to pick blind on the side of Method Black. They are against all odds here. The boys, they are looking like they are going to the upper grand finals.
It's funny because you look at this series, and Mage Lock Druid MLD is 100% what's kept Method Black in it. But you look at the first kill, and I think it's somewhat fair to assess that that's not the most repeatable win. And then you look on the largest map, and I think it's fair to say that that's not necessarily the most convincing win. I don't think that there is a Game 5 where they win on the MLD. And then you look at Change My Mind, and you look at, then you look at the boys, and you look at how they did play against the MLD, and I think the big question is if they do manage to win this, are they able to take down Cloud9? Because we've heard it from the players. I think every single player has tweeted out just how fantastic Cloud9 has made this composition look. And I want to know right now, Ven, do you think that what we're seeing from this Mage Lock Druid is anywhere in the realm of what we've seen from Cloud9's Mage Lock Druid?
I would say it's a little bit worse, but I really feel like Raikou right now, Chaz, even Swapsy, they're all playing at a high level. I mean, this is a composition, this is a matchup that the boys wanted and they expected to be favored in, and the fact that Method Black is still putting points on the board with it, granted, they did do it on their 2 best maps, which does make a significant difference. And one of the things about Method Black is they haven't been locking in the Mage Lock Druid blind, which makes me believe that the boys have a different answer than this Windwalker Fury Warrior. Potentially, Method Black is scared of Thugonomics coming in on that Destruction Warlock and them running something like Windwalker Destruction or Shadow Priest Destruction, which might be able to go toe-to-toe with that Mage Lock Druid.
Well, you're going to have a little bit of time to let that all sink in. Let us know what you're thinking in the chat, because when we return, we are going to have the last game of the day. We know anything can happen in this next game, the final game of the day, but the boys are going to have pretty much every advantage here as far as compositions and maps are going to be concerned. They have the tempo in their favor. They're going to select the map. Method Black is going to have to answer with their composition, and then with full information, the boys will lock in what they're playing and ultimately will decide what their fate does look like. And we had a little bit of a powwow right before we went live. We're like, okay, what actually beats Mage Lock Druid? And Sid decided that Moonkin Affliction Warlock beats it.
What was the healer he said? Because that's the cherry on top.
I didn't think he was serious.
This is a true.
Did you say Disc Priest?
This is a true Super T's comp. Discipline Priest Affliction Warlock Balanced Druid beats Mage Lock Druid.
It beats it.
All right,
100%. It beats it. Give me a Disc Priest and an Affliction.
Ooh.
This is the guy that I asked to carry me as well. All right, well, we are going to see something.
Wow.
So Method Black, what they decided to do was turn this map on its head, and now the boys have no choice but to go into a Windwalker Death Knight mirror with Method Black. And I don't know about you guys, but I would have to favor the boys in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, for Chaz, I had similar questions to what I had to Gorecki at the start of this tournament, which is, where's your Mistweaver, Chaz? We saw it in the Cups, didn't look great. We saw Gorecki's Mistweaver in the Cups, didn't look great. We saw Gorecki's Mistweaver in the tournament, and we know he's been practicing it because it looked fantastic. Now is Chaz's test in game number 5, boys versus Method Black.
What is going to happen? Looks like Gorecki does get Asphyxiate done. I know this is a matchup that both the boys and Never Lucky have practiced quite a bit, so boys know exactly what they're doing. Gorecki has to survive, though. Darby getting run down. So much pressure early on. Chaz also in a lot of trouble. Gorecki trades out his way of the crane as well as the Life Cocoon. Both Mistweaver monks. This is the race to the finish.
I mean, we went from what could be the longest games, could be what is going to be the quickest games. This is a healer race, and Gorecki, he's falling so far behind. Huge damage, multiple stuns incoming, and Gorecki is just getting absolutely annihilated by Method Black in Game 5. They turn up the heat. They go on all cylinders, and they go full NA. Zug Dug. That's it. You're done. You're going going down the lower bracket. It's going to be EU versus NA tomorrow. Cloud9 and Method Black.
How do you beat North America? You become them. Method Black going to be able to completely turn around a series. We counted them out at several times, and also Zico, not to put you on the spot, you can hear them getting very hyped behind us right now, which isn't something that normally happens this early in a tournament for them. That was a hard-fought series by the boys, but Zico, this is the opposite of what you thought was going to happen, which is very rare in a series. The composition that even brings them to a Game 5, you say they most likely are just going to lose on if they lock it in. And then in the Game 5, we get this mirror. What on earth just happened?
Well, this is what it comes down to. Method Black is such a versatile team. They play the melee caster healer, they play the double melee, they play the double caster as well, and they took a page out of Wildcard Gaming's book, which is when the opponent has the pick advantage and they pick a small map, you go to your melee cleave and you try to do.
You lock in Windwalker Death Knight.
Windwalker Death Knight, Zug, target acquired, run at the healer. And I mean, both teams did it. We're just going to rewatch the entire game because it was so short. So the big difference is Chaz immediately trinkets the first time. That's pretty much as far as my analysis is going to go for this game. Gorecki gets stunned. He sits that stun. Swapsy and Waz, they get a little bit of uptime. Chaz, though, he gets stunned up as well. Diard, after he uses his trinket right away, and everybody activates all their cooldowns. Gorecki's trying to run for his life, essentially. And Chaz, he's essentially doing more damage than Gorecki here, already having activated his Fortifying Brew at a very high HP to prevent himself from actually dropping low. And the DR leg sweep on Gorecki's trinket here, I think it was from Waz. That is really what seals the deal here. Too many globals from Gorecki's end that he needs to use. He's not going to be able to use them, and he's going to go down.
I have to say, I really feel like Chaz did a phenomenal job in that matchup. I think he just did a better job than Gorecki did, managing his defensive cooldowns. He just was very proactive, using Fortifying Brew at high health, using his trinket at high health. He had great positioning in the starter room. That's something you normally don't see. At the beginning, he ran to the pillar, he dropped his Transcendence, ran into the starting room, and that way he was able to drop a Ring of Peace and portal out, which is beautiful Mistweaver play.
I've just enjoyed watching
What do we call that move, then?
What do we call it?
Locking the door.
Oh, yeah. He locked the door on Chun-Li and Smexen. And I have to say, I really felt like the boys would have the edge in that matchup. But Method Black really showing the versatility of their roster, and they really beat them at their own game.
I mean, it looked like the boys were going to win this series, but also it's always one of the, you always get kind of baited into it, and then all of a sudden Method Black is just this team that I wonder if there's like a stat for how many times they go to Game 5 compared to other teams, because they do it a lot and come out with Game 5 wins. They're an incredibly clutch team. I did not think that they were winning this series after how it looked at the beginning, Zico. You know, it's very enjoyable to watch chat like instantly flip. They're like, NA, where you at? Earlier it was EU, where you at? And pretty much every series today it has flipped, and that goes back to an idea before we actually do get to hear from the players, Zico. I feel like this year they're just the best teams, and they're the teams that aren't that caliber. I feel like region is becoming less and less of a thing.
Absolutely. I mean, this is kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier throughout the day as well. We don't really expect one region to just snag all the spots for BlizzCon. I think it's going to be evenly distributed amongst the regions because they are so evenly matched. We see compositions kind of being stolen from each side of the regions, whereas, you know, typically it's just NA stealing stuff from us.
Well, we gotta hear from. Let's just hear from Waz. Let's hear from Waz.
Hey guys, I'm here with Waz of Method Black. Congratulations on that win. What a turnaround. Now, how did you feel going into that mirror?
We were actually not confident at all going into the mirror. We have practiced a lot of Windwalker DK Monk, but it doesn't always go that well on live. We play an Alliance, not Horde, and Horde is definitely the best race for that. And now we got to play it on a tournament server with the right gear and everything, and I don't know, we owned. Chaz did really good. He ran in, got that Maledict off. That's all that matters. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like we ran in on the healer first, and that's probably what made us actually get out ahead.
And earlier, before these games started today, you said that you guys prepared a lot of comps. You wanted to have a really wide range. Do you feel like that helped you today?
For sure. I mean, every matchup we got into today, we kind of predicted their blind pick and everything. I feel like we threw the games because we let them drink twice, and we ended up actually ooming both druids. So if we didn't let them drink, we probably have won both games. But I mean, we just need to play a bit better and then step up our games, and I'm sure we will do better in the future.
And finally, what's practice going to be like going in for tomorrow's matches?
We're facing Cloud9 tomorrow. I'm actually happy that we're facing Cloud9 instead of Wildcard. I feel like Wildcard is like our enemies, and I'm excited to face new players. I haven't faced them before. We did some war games against them, and yeah, they're good players, so anything could happen.
Okay, well, thank you for chatting with me, and congratulations once again. Back to you guys at the desk.
Yeah, I think we heard a lot of important things there from Waz. I think you go into that Game 5. I like that honest answer of, yeah, we're not confident at all. How could you be? That was an absurd scenario to be in. But also, he's like, yeah, the mistakes that we made that even got us to that Game 5, that put us in the position that we needed that, we need to play better. And then you also take another look, and they're talking about playing against Wildcard Gaming. Why do they say they're essentially their enemies? Well, because they've been going head-to-head in the EU Cups basically every weekend. These are the two teams that are at the top. And now when we look at the bracket, let's see what tomorrow actually will look like when we crown our champion of the first LAN of the year. Cloud9 and Method Black, the two teams that have not lost at all in this tournament. And then we look at those lower quarters in Zico. These are some tough matchups that are going to be elimination series.
Yeah, these are some spicy games, especially in the lower bracket. I mean, we could see AWC knocked out tomorrow, 2017 BlizzCon winners. We could see the boys versus Wildcard Gaming, two teams that they've been pretty much playing identical comps throughout the season here, go head-to-head. And of course, in the upper final, we're going to see the #1 seed from each region go head-to-head. I can't wait. It's going to be so many exciting games tomorrow.
You know, I almost was in a place, Zico, where if the boys did win this, I could have started predicting maybe another NA grand final at BlizzCon. It never happened before in the history of BlizzCon across any game. It happened last year for World of Warcraft, NA taking first and second place. But after we see Method Black able to grab that victory,
where's Adrian?
Yeah, outnumbered again. Ben Rookie, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. We're going to go down the line. I want predictions. Who do you think wins the entire tournament based off of what we see?
Who do I think wins the entire tournament? I'm still going to Cloud9.
Still going to Cloud9.
Yeah, I think originally I thought the winner of Wildcard Gaming and Cloud9 would win the tournament, and Cloud9 ended up winning that, and I think they're going to have Method Black's number.
Zico, that was what you said as well. Do you still stand by the Cloud9 potentially winning the entire tournament?
Yep. I think Cloud9, they look like they're on fire. And let's not forget one thing about Cloud9. We haven't seen Snuts play a single game yet. And this guy, he's a monster.
He's pretty good.
He tore the interview apart, though. He did a fantastic job of the interview. MVP for interviews. Super Tees, we didn't get to hear your prediction yet. Do you think that it's also Cloud9, or are you going to be the guy who steps out of the box here?
I feel like I have to be, almost in a sense, be the guy that goes against the curve. But I don't know. Cloud9, if they play as good as they did today, tomorrow, they're going to take all of it. So I think it's going to be almost easy for them if they play as good as they did today, tomorrow.